Today we clarified a halachic question that has a lot of applications in regards to something that a person does one time versus two or three and more. Start simple, prayer. As you know, we add the prayer for winter time. V'ten talo matar livracha. If a person is not sure if he recited during his prayer, or if he's not sure about reciting Shema, he can go further and ask questions such as a kashrut atolaim, when we check the bugs comes out of those produce. The question is, if it was checked, for example, pasta in a large quantity, the mashgiach checked, and all of a sudden the chef later on find out there is a bug. How do you treat it if it's just one time? Checking Sefer Torah, if it's a mistake, if it's one mistake versus three mistakes, how you treated the matter of checking. You can go further and ask about it's in Shulchan Aruch, but you see it in application. Those days they used to have salt putting on the meat. And that usually women, she is not sure if she did it or not. The question is, it's disputation between the Shach and the Taz. Do you require her to redo it or not? So here we are with the subject of innocuous or forewarning ox, and we explained the past days that an ox or animals that cause damage by goring others, if it's just one time or two times, or even by some three times, it's considering an innocuous one. So the owner needs to pay half of the cost of the damage. Versus if it's a forewarning animal, then it needs to pay in full. The question is, do we differentiate between a person and animals, and a small one, large one? So here we are, Tractate Bava Kamma, page 37, 8 lines from the top of the page at the Mishnah. You have an ox that is forewarned for its own species, but it's not forewarned for other species. So he's already gored other ox 3 times, and we said when it's come to other species, he's not. He is forewarned by goring people, but not animals. He is forewarning for a small species, but not the large one. Whatever is forewarned, it's a full cost of the damage, if not, half. Rashi, Tosfot, here is the difference. Tosfot said to us that he's not recognized the clothing of people. So the idea is, he think that they are strangers. Those who owns animal knows that the animals are very smart. In that sense, they recognize by, for example, clothing of people. It's not, sometimes they say reflection, but sometimes it's just the wisdom, the understanding. Shabbat, it's once a week, right? So it's and the weekday half. So it's a different one. But but anyway, the idea is, if it's the Shabbat in 3 successive weeks, so then it's considering when you refrain from going for 3 days of Shabbat, then it's returned to tam status. So Rav Zvid said, we learn that it's not forewarned for other species, referring to an ox that is proven to be innocuous with regard to other species. If he gored other species, its owner pays only half of the cost. Rav Papa said, it's not forewarned with others. So the Mishnah, according to that view of Rav Papa, said that forewarned with regard to goring one species does not make him rendering forewarned with regard to goring others, until you prove otherwise. So there's some said there's Rabbi Simcha, some said the Rogochover. was an ingenious rabbi from Rogochov. So the mother that nursed the baby, right? So she said that the baby is a nurse during the week. Shabbat, the baby refused to nurse. So they came before the Rogochov. He said, it's very simple. He said, the baby did not recognize your clothing. So the mother, sure enough, changed it back the way she dressed during the week, and the baby nursed from her. That's the ingenuity of the Rogochov. But it's based, when he responded, it's based on this sugya, and he said, Yada shor koneu, Isaiah said that the oxen know its owner. Anyway, so according to Rav Zvid, we assume that it's forewarned. According to Rav Papa, that is the ordinary case is not considered forewarned with regard to other species. Based on that, you see a lot of halachot. For example, Isha Kashlanit, woman that the husband passed one time, second husband, third husband, it's already category. Women that have issue with Veset, the same. So the question is, why you differentiate between tefillah and this? So Baram Rotenburg said, for example, if someone wants to make sure that in winter time, we said V'ten talu matar livracha, mashiv ruach u'morid hageshem. This is a prayer for the winter we incorporated with the Amida. So they said he should say it as a segula, 30 days. He said 101 times. So it's already, we assume that even people don't pay attention, you already said it properly. So why we said that when it's come to a forewarning animal is different than something you do 3 times. So the answer is, they said, when it's come to goring, it's a big deal. When it's come to Vesed, is a big deal. Shakatlanit, situation like that, it's a serious thing. Prayer, it's not always this famous teshuva by the late Rav Ovadia Yosef alav shalom. They said that someone came and said, I'm not sure if I did grace after meal, but my minor child said that he sees me move my lips. So the question is, do you depend upon this statement from a minor? The Mishnah Berurah said, bring the Magen Giborim, it's not always correct to say that the person is focusing on what he is saying. If you make a ker chazak lifnei tefillah, if you make something that is clearly in his intent, that's different. Mashiv ruach, he says there is here you see a difference between chazakah and dibur. Dibur, you need to have a 30 days period. So Khatam Sofer said, he bring a famous Gemara in Chagiga that said, in Odome, you cannot compare someone who study 100 times, someone who study 101 times. So he said that's the big difference when we have this. If you take a numerical value of the word shachach, right, 328, and the word zachar is 227. The difference between them is 101 times. So you do something 101 times, you already remember. Anyway, Rav Zvi dayak miseifa, Rav Papa dayak miresh, Rav Zvi dayak miseifa lektanim moad lektanim v'no moad lekdolim. So the less close that is for 1 small one, but not the large one. Regular, ordinary case, the ox is considered for one with regard to all animals. You learn from here that even from small to large one, in ordinary case, the oxen is considered for one with regard to large species, to our other species, which is more far-teaching statement, as an ox is less likely to gore large animals. From small to small, we understand that it's not for one. From the small to large one, you need to tell me that it's not considered for one with regard to large species. Since you already breached the norm already, so it's already breached. It makes no difference for large or small. So we learn from that it's not considered for one with regard to a large animal of that species. So the late Moshe Feinstein, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, have a famous response with the Tolaim, which is a large study, many books by Rabbi Vaya, Vav Yudalef. He's a well-known posek in Israel when it's come to species. This type of small bugs that come into those produce. So my dear friend Rav Shimon Friedman also Eliyahu ben Chamu. They have a large company in South Florida. They live in North Miami Beach. They have a special patent that you put the produce in one and it come out to a special process without chemicals and make them bugs free. So here the big question is, only you're going to tell me that only when you spray something, but if it's a regular process, so you mean to say muhzak talui b'maaseh, how you treat it? The Shulchan Aruch, based on the same mindset, ask a question about those days the women used to have a salt on the meat. They put a salt, and the question is, she's not remember if she did it or not. So according to the Taz said, depend where. Where, if it's in the tab, that she always did, it's the same as law of Kriyat Shema. It's called sircha nakat ve'atei. Right? We assume that she already did it. The Shach disagree. And he said, no, this is a big deal. And she must probably notice, and if she's not noticed, so we assume that she didn't do it. Anyway, רב פאפא מדייק מרישא, דקתן אם מועד לאדם אינו מבועד לבהמה, אי עמד בשלמה אינו מועד תנן, סתם לא אוהב מועד. הקמה שלנו, אפילו מאדם לבהמה, אינם סתם לא אוהב מועד. You assume that when it's come to people versus animals, an ordinary case, an ox is not considered forewarned with regard to animals. אלא יאמר ואינו מועד קטן היה סתם אוהב מועד, אשתר כלומר בלבהמה סתם אוהב מועד. מאדם לבהמה צריך לנאמר דבר מועד. When it's come to a person versus animal, you mean to say that it's considered forewarned with regard to animals. ורב זביד אמר לאחרי שהחזרה כהי, כגון דאב ומועד לאדם ומועד לבהמה והדר בבהמה. It was forewarned for people and animals, and it changed and reverted to its innocuous status with regard to animals. דקארגה בהמה תלת הזימנה ולא נאגח, because he's gored animals 3 times and not gored. מה הוא ליתם? מכיוון לא הדר במה אדם חזרה לבמה אדם חזרה, you think that since it's already reversed is regards to animals but not to people, so it's not considering it. So the הסכם teacher, הסכמה שמלן, דחזרה לבמה מהחזרה היא, that when it's come to reverse, so that with regard to animals is considered a reversal and is no longer of the status of one ox with regard to going animals. So the great Israeli rabbi Rav Shatner, he wrote a book called Ulehorot Natan. He asked on the Minchat Yitzchak, the idea is, you have for example pasta, so they bring it in a large quantity for the commercial kitchen. So you have the assumption that those itriyot, that pasta, it's muhzak shenagua, that you assume because of experience that they carry bugs. Now the question is, the mashgiach checked, and he said that he's bugs free. So they have chezkat naki, bring it to the chef, he start cooking, and all of a sudden they found bugs. So how you treat it? You have chazakah, you don't have chazakah, you say that what do you do? So the Minchat Yitzchak has a malach, he tried to say that the same as Hagat Sefer Torah. If you find one mistake in a Sefer Torah, it's not the same as you found 3 mistakes. If it's 1 mistake, it's Chazkat Baduk. You assume the Sefer Torah is fine. If it's 3, you need to go from the beginning. The same with this come to Tolaim, to the bugs. So if it's one story, 1 time, rare, right? But if it's 3 times, so when it's come to us, we talk about forewarning, and we said it 3 times. So what we said, if the ox was innocuous, did once, did twice, 3 times, boom, now it changes status, that is forewarning ox. But the same way is that forewarning ox can go back to what the status of innocuous if you have 3 chances and you do it. We said the exception is when the children plays his tail, or cases like that. If you remember in the past, we said that that's the exception. Otherwise, we have the concept of differentiate between innocuous and forewarning one. Meitivei somach or somer mo'al adam mo'al mikal v'chomer. Said that it's forewarning with regard to people and forewarning with regard to animals. Or mikal v'chomer, אולי mikal v'chomer, mo'al adam mo'al b'mal. Kol sheken, if it's forewarning for people, animals, how much so? Michal Tanna Kamma eno mo'ad kamar. So you derive from that, the Tana of the Mishnah is saying that an ox is not considered forewarned with regard to animals. That's a view of Rav Papa. What Somachos said is come with the ox reverting to its innocuous status. ואחרי כאמר לתנא קמא, this what we said to the first Tana, דקאמרת חזרה לבהמה, חזרה היא, when you tell me that one is reversal with regard to animals, is considering reversal, though it's not yet reversed its behavior toward people. חזרה לבהמה, לאו חזרה היא מקל וחומר מאדם, מה מאדם לא כמעט הרבה, מבהמה לא כל שכן. When it's come to people, the ox is not reverted to its innocuous behavior toward people. So when it's come to animals, how much so that that is not truly reverted to its innocuous behavior toward animals. אמר רבה שיטש, אמרו לפני רבי יהודה הרי זה מועד בשבתות ללמוד החול, that's what we said in Mishnah. אמר להם שבתות משלם נזק שלם, ללמוד החול שלם חצי נזק, you have to differentiate, Tosfot said too, you have to differentiate between the Shabbat and the weeks. When it's come to Shabbat, it's only pay full cost. And the damage of weekdays, pay half. אי אמר בשלמה בנו מועד קטן אישור לקודם מהשלב וקודם מהרלב. So that's the way they ask in the answer, because it's not forewarning. אלא אמר אינו מועד קטן, הגמורו דקמה גמרי לו, ותו איו מה כמה עדו לו. So what exactly they're responding to them? We already said that the ox is not considered forewarned with regard to weekdays. אמר רבי נעים ראשונה מדי כדקטני, עת שמועד לא משלם נזק שלם, עת שלא מועד לא משלם חצי נזק. So when it's forewarned, you need to pay full cost. And if you go the animal or person with regard to it's not forewarned, so half. אי אמר בשלמה בנו מועד קטן פירוש כמפרש לה. So they just give its own explanations to הלכה, that the ox is forewarned only with regard to its species. You need to pay, the owner pay full. אלה, אמרתי לו מועד קטן, פסק, פסקי, מייטו, עד שמועד משלם נזק שלם, ושלא מועד משלם חצי נזק. So if it's not forewarning, you need to pay half. עד השלוש מן לדעת המשלם חצי נזק, מועד משלם נזק שלם. Up to this point, what you said, that innocuous ox, its owner pays half the damage. And for forewarning ox, he pays the full cost. ואם נמצא לומר, איתה לרב פאפה, if you tell me that it's a follow of Papa opinion, which says that an ox that is forewarned with regard to its own species is not considered forewarned with regard to other species. נגח שור חמור וגמל, נעשה מועד לכל. If ox gored an ox, a donkey, and a camel, it is thereby rendered forewarned with regard to all of them. So the ox is rendered forewarned with regard to all three species, regardless of the fact that it's not gored each individual species 3 times. תנו רבנן, ראה שור נגח, שור לא נגח, שור נגח, שור לא נגח, שור נגח, שור לא נגח. נעשה מועד לסירוגין לשברים. So because it's alternate oxen, it's because you can say that he's forewarned to goring every other ox that it sees, because it's the alternate here, going not. תנו רבנן, ראה שור נגח, חמור לא נגח. So he saw the ox gored, so donkey not. סוס נגח, גמר לא נגח. Horse did it, going, camel not. פרד נגח, ערוד לא נגח. So you see here the parrot, is a mule, gored, and you see a arod, wild donkey. It's the difference between African or Asian. Not gored. Samuel is serugin lakol. So it became forewarned with regard to alternate animal of all the species. So we ask a question: Nagach, if an ox gored 37b shor, shor, veshor, chamor, vegamal ma'u. So you have ox, another ox, a third ox. And then donkey and a camel. So how you consider that? Hi, shor, batra, batar, shvarim, shadin, lei, bat, shvarim, udayad, lemid, achin, lo, yad. It's only to the oxen, not others. Or dilma, or you may say, hi, shor, batra, batar, chamor, vegamal, shadin, lei. Second time, the last ox together with the donkey and all the camel, So he said it's for one, ve'ad, lekol, mine. So his muad is for one, for all the species. חמור וגמל שור שור ושור מהו? היי שור כמה בתר חמור וגמל של די ועל כולו הנה הודיל מה בתר שברים של דינים וכאלה שברים עוד יעלה. So you treat it. You go by the first ox with the donkey camel, or you go by בתר שברים, all the oxen that is go forward. So the minachin are so other species not. Shabbat ושבת. You have Shabbat another one, so you have 3 consecutive Shabbatot. אחד בשבת ושני בשבת מהו, then you have Sunday and Monday, how you treat it, בהלכה, השבת בתרא הייתה בשעה, השבת הוא די הישן לי, the second Shabbat is follow the previous one, והקל לשבת הוא דיעד, so he said that he's for owning only for שבת. לימוד החול לא ניעד, but it's not for the weekday. הודינו הבתר אחד בשבת ושני בשבת של לילה, והיה לכל יום, I go by the consecutive, but since it was the same consecutive, חמישי בשבת וערב שבת בשבת, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, שבת בשבת מהו, and then all of a sudden one Shabbat after the other, so you don't have the consecutivity of days. השבת כמה הייתה בתר חמישי בשבת וערב שבת של לילה, והיה לכל יום, הודיל מה? השבת כמה הייתה בתר שבתות של לילה ושבתות דיעד, תיקו. So it's unsolved because you have an issue of consecutiveness. How you treat it, because it was a consecutiveness, but then it was a change, and it's go just by that specific designated date. נגח יום 15 בחודש זה ויום 16 בחודש זה, 15 days of the first month, of the 16 days of the other months, ויום 17 בחודש זה, פלוגתא רבי שמואל, and the 70 days, so you have 15, you have 16, you have 17. Disputation between רבי שמואל. דית, מרתה, יום 15 בחודש זה, ויום 16 בחודש זה, ויום 17 בחודש זה, רב אמר כבר רב עשר, שמואל אמר עד שלוש בגדול. That's a famous statement in a woman menstruation. So he said if she saw the 15 of the month, and 16, and then the 17, so you have here the consecutiveness of the months. So here you say, Rab said that she have already the cycle. Shmuel said until she skips a day or 3 times. So what do you see in Shmuel? That the cycle is established in this case not by the date per se, but rather by the pattern of the additional day every month. So when she's menstruated in the 4th month, it's a pattern. אמר רבא שמע כל שופר ונגח, כל שופר ונגח, כל שופר ונגח. Hear the sound of shofar and gold. Once, twice, 3 times. Samuel shofarot is considering a 4-1 with the shofarot, the sound of shofar. Pshita, obviously. מהו לתמר שופר כמה סיודה בעל, מהו דנקתי כמה שמלן. May say that the first shofar is merely startled the ox. So they said here, kama shmelan, they teach us that since the ox is repeatedly gored when you hear the sound of the shofar, so the sound is imputes for its goring. Shor shel Yisrael, the Mishnah said, Shor shel Yisrael shnagach shor shel ekdesh. You have a regular ox that gored, a ox that is consecrated. V'shel ekdesh nagach l'shor shel ediot, and consecrated, gored, an ox owned by a fellow Jew, but it's non-sacred. Patur is exemption. Mar shoreu v'lo shor shel ekdesh said ox another, and not consecrated one. Belong to the Beit HaMikdash, the temple treasury. So regardless of whether the later was the ox that gored or the ox that was gored. שור של ישראל שנגח שור של גוי פטור. ושל נוחי שנגח שור של ישראל בינתיים מנועד משלם נזק שלם. מדניתין דלוק רבי שמעון בן מנסיה. נתניה, running out of time, right? שור של ידיעות שנגח שור של הקדש ושל הקדש נגח שלו ידיעות שהיו consecrated gored the regular. vice versa, פטור שנאמר שור ערב ולא שור של הקדש. רבי שמעון בן מנסיה אומר שור של הקדש נגח שור של ידיעות פטור ושל ידיעות נגח שור של הקדש בינתיים מנועד משלם נזק שלם. אמרי, מהי כסב רבי שמעון? יראו דווקא אפילו של ידיעות שנגח של הקדש להיפטר. ויראו לאו דווקא אפילו להקדש נעמי כי נגח לידיעות לחייב. So here you differentiate between a regular one and a consecrated one. You try, פחיתה אם העולם כסב ראו דווקא ומי הוא הידיעות כי נגח דהקדש אנו תם עד מחייב. משום דקמר יתלה מקל וחום עד הידיעות. מה הידיעות? מה הידיעות שנגח של ידיעות חייב כי נגח דהקדש לא כל שקש למחייב. So בסדר, לא מה מדדין לידיעות כנידון. It's sufficient for the conclusion that emerges from the a priority inference to be like this source. Over there was innocuous, individual innocuous, need to pay half a damage. So here too, innocuous, non-sacred ox, goy, consecrated those, so you need to pay half. All cases damage were included among those and only need to pay full cost. כשפרד לך כתוב ראו גבי תם, ראו דו דתם משלם חצי נזק, מחל דהקדש, בין תם בין מועד משלם נזק שלם. 38, אם כן יכתוב קרא לה ראו גבי ראו מועד. So the Torah should say that the ox that gored consecrated those is exempt for liability because the pasuk say of another. So it's for one ox. So the owner is exempt from liability in the case of an accurate ox as well. And the liability with regard to an accurate ox is less severe than the forewarned ox.
started to